weighed by the kilo, sold for meat, until the lonely human who bought her said, "I'll take you home." The auction yard reeked of iron, smoke, and fear. The cages rattled with every movement, filled with being stripped of their dignity, tagged and weighed like cattle. Some were animals, creatures hauled from distant worlds. Others were not animals at all. In cage 42, behind cold steel bars, a young female alien crouched. Her skin shimmered faintly silver under the dim lights, ridged with markings that looked like they belonged to starlight rather than earth. She was tall, though starved, her frame lean but still powerful. Her amber eyes did not meet anyone's. They stared at the ground, unblinking, hollow. The handler slapped a clipboard against the bars. Lot 42, weighed in at 236 kilos. Female, unfit for breeding. Tender muscle mass, healthy enough for slaughter. The crowd muttered. Buyers adjusted their hats, sniffed the air, and sized her up the way butchers might size up a bull. The girl's hands tightened around her knees. She knew what they wanted her for. She had seen others hauled to block, never to return. Her species once roamed freely under twin suns, but now they were cargo, meat, trophies. She had stopped hoping for mercy a long time ago. The bidding began. 2,000 credits. 2,200. 2,500. Each number felt like a nail driven into her chest. Her value, her weight, her life, all reduced to numbers shouted by men with thick wallets and hollow hearts. And then, amid the hungry voices, a quieter one spoke. 3,000. The crowd turned. The speaker was not dressed like a butcher or a dealer. He was just one man, middle-aged, carrying no badge of wealth or cruelty. His coat was plain, patched at the elbows, his boots dusty from long use. His eyes were tired, the kind of tired that comes not from work, but from being alone too long. The auctioneer blinked. 3,000 credits, going once, going twice. Silence. No one else challenged him. Sold. The gavel cracked down. The cage door was unlocked. Shackles clinked as they were fastened on her wrists, and she was shoved forward. The man, her buyer, did not look triumphant. He simply stepped aside, signed the ledger, and held the chain loosely as though it shamed him to even touch it. They walked together through the market streets. The alien girl's legs trembled, but she forced herself upright. She had been trained not to resist, not to speak. Finally, the man said softly, "You don't have to keep your head down." She flicked her eyes toward him, startled, but quickly lowered them again. He stopped with a sigh. He reached into his pocket, pulled out a small key, and unlocked her shackles. The chains clattered to the ground. Her breath caught. No one ever removed the chains. "You're not going to be butchered," he said. His voice was quiet, steady. "Not while I breathe. I didn't buy you for meat." She stared at him, unsure she had heard correctly. "My name's Elias," he added, awkwardly. "I live outside the city. Alone. Always have. And He hesitated, rubbing his neck. "I thought maybe you shouldn't die like that. Maybe you deserve a home." The word struck her harder than any blow. A home. Her people used to speak that word like it was sacred. She opened her mouth, but her throat was raw, her voice barely more than a rasp. "Why?" Elias looked away, his jaw tightening. "Because I know what it feels like to be unwanted." His home was a small cabin at the edge of the woods, far from the noise of the city. The roof sagged a little. The furniture was worn, but it was warm. A fire glowed in the hearth, and the smell of stew filled the air. The alien girl stood uncertain in the doorway. "Come in," Elias urged. "It's safe here." She stepped inside slowly, her bare feet brushing against a rug. It felt strange, soft, almost like moss. Elias ladled stew into a bowl, and set it before her. She sniffed it suspicious, then tasted a spoonful. Her eyes widened. Warmth spread through her chest, melting the hollow ache of hunger that had gnawed at her for days. "You like it?" Elias asked. She nodded slowly, almost shyly. "Good." He sat across from her, eating his own portion. For a while, the only sounds were the clink of spoons and the crackle of the fire. When she finished, Elias leaned back. "I don't know what they called you before, but if you want, you can tell me your name." She hesitated. It had been so long since anyone asked. "Lyra," she whispered. "Lyra," he repeated, testing the sound. He smiled faintly. "It suits you." Her chest tightened. It was the first time her name had been spoken with kindness in years. Days turned into weeks. Elias gave her space, never forcing her to speak, never binding her again. He showed her how to split firewood, how to plant vegetables in the small garden, how to mend torn clothes. Lyra, in turn, cleaned the cabin, fetched water, and sometimes, when she thought he wasn't looking, sang soft fragments of songs from her people. One night, when the stars burned bright overhead, she asked him, "Why do you live alone?" Elias poked at the fire with a stick. "My wife passed a long time ago. We never had children. After she was gone, I just stayed. Couldn't bring myself to leave. Couldn't bring myself to find anyone else." He gave a bitter chuckle. "Guess I just kept waiting for something. Or someone." Lyra's eyes softened. For the first time, she reached out and touched his hand. Her fingers were cool, her grip gentle. "You saved me," she whispered. "I'll stay. If you'll let me." Elias's throat tightened. He squeezed her hand back. "Then neither of us has to be alone anymore." The seasons shifted. Spring rains fed the earth. Summer heat ripened the garden. Autumn painted the trees gold. Word spread in the city of the strange man who bought a female alien and never delivered her to the butchers. Some mocked him. Others grew suspicious. A few greedy ones even came sniffing around his cabin, wondering if they could take her back and sell her again. Elias stood firm. He barred the door, kept his rifle ready, and told them to leave. "She's not meat. She's not property. She's family." Lyra, who once cowered in cages, now stood tall beside him. She was still thin, still scarred, but her spirit had begun to heal. She tended the hearth, laughed softly at Elias's clumsy jokes, and began to dream again of a future. One winter's night, as snow fell thick outside, Elias sat by the fire with her curled close beside him. "I never thought I'd have this again," he murmured. "Have what?" Lyra asked. "Warmth. Company. Someone who makes the silence bearable." He looked at her, his eyes glistening. "Thank you for staying." She leaned against him, her silver skin glowing in the firelight. "You gave me back my life," she said. "I'll never leave you." And for the first time, Elias believed her.